Yeah, I got him.
Today, what I like to do is review a rifle scope, the Leupold Mark AR Mod 1 3 to 9 by 40. It has matte finish and a mil-dot reticle. Take a look at the box. The part number is 115390. Leupold Mark AR Mod 1 3 to 9 by 40. Matte mil-dot scope. Put the scope on. A friend of mine wanted a rifle. He asked me what to get, and I immediately said, well, a Seiko. So he took my advice and purchased this Seiko Finlight rifle in 308. Wants to use it for moose and deer hunting. And a little apprehensive at first, actually, being such a light rifle. Kind of thought that it wouldn't be very accurate, but you know, worked up some loads with it, and you know what? Really doesn't shoot that badly. 0.8 inch group at 80 yards with 155 grain Sierra Match King bullet, 42 grains of Argot. So so pretty good. Hats off to Seiko for such a lightweight rifle that shoots pretty well. You know, it's definitely impressive. Anyways, on with the scope. What I want to talk to you about with the scope is this thing was a bit of a surprise to me. You know, traditional, I guess historically, scopes that are out there have MOA clicks on the dials, and this one's actually in mils. You know, that was you know, a lot of the tactical shooters are really getting on the bandwagon, shooting mils. There seems to be their preference, and I think it's centered around the mil-dot reticle. What happened in the past was they'd produce scopes that had a mil-dot reticle, but then they had MOA clicks on the come-ups, and it's a disconnect because you're coming up in minutes and you're measuring things in mils, and you have to do the math in your head, and that doesn't always work out. It's a lot more to think about. Why not just make it so that there's mils on the reticle and mils on the clicks for the adjustments, and that's what they did on this scope, which is fantastic. Hats off to Leupold for that one. And this is really kind of a budget scope. It's not well, I wouldn't say budget, but mid-range, anyways. The prices of scopes are getting pretty ridiculous these days. It's not uncommon to see scopes that are well over $2,000. This one here was $4.99 Canadian, so you know, not too bad. Maybe that's more than some people might want to pay for a kind of a for a hunting rifle, but you know, if you can afford it, $4.99 is not too bad. And especially when you look at what's here. Pretty cool scope. You've got your target clicks. I always tell everybody, if you don't have target turrets on your scope, we can't be friends. The one downside about this scope is no parallax adjustment. It's fixed just like most of the 3 to 9 scopes are. But anyways, this scope's pretty nice. It's got the again, mil-dot reticle, mil-dot clicks. My surprise on this scope is when you look on the cap, you can see that it says click 0.1 mils at 100 meters, and it says 223 rem, 55 grain, 3100 feet per second. So that is the trajectory that's been calculated into the scope. And if you look on the scope, it says on let's see if we can get close enough here. It says 1, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, and 6.5. So, and then back to 1. So what each of those numbers is that's the drop at that distance. So if you know, assuming you're shooting the 55 grain bullet at 3,100 feet per second, there's your 200 yard zero, 250 yards, 300 yards. 350 yards, 400, and so on. So that's pretty nice that they did that. Another thing that you can do if this doesn't happen to match up Suppose you're not shooting something with comparable ballistics to a 223 55 grain bullet at 3,100 feet per second. You can always make your own ribbon and tape it on over top of that. It measures 1 inch in diameter. So 3.14 inches is going to make one wrap, right? Pi times diameter. So 3.14, whatever it is, for pi will make, you cut a piece of paper that long, and this is 1/4 of an inch high. So you cut a strip of paper 1/4 inch by 3.14 inches long, and you can take a piece of cellophane tape and just wrap it all the way around, and then on that you can mark your own distances, whatever the come-ups are for whatever you're shooting. So go shoot the gun at 100 and mark where your zero is. Shoot at 200, 253, whatever, and get your zeros. Or you can calculate them. A lot of software packages will do the math for you, and you can put in your velocity and your ballistic coefficient from the bullet you're shooting, and it'll calculate the rest of that. And then for the windage knob, you have it starts at 0 and it goes 0.5 in each direction. So you can go, you can make your adjustments for left to right, for windage as needed, and same kind of deal. You can create. Now they didn't do this, but they just tell you the mils per click. But you can translate these into wind drift at a certain distance, and what I like to do is I'll calculate the wind drift based on a 5 mile an hour wind at 9 o'clock. So what I'll do is I'll put distance on here where it'll be, say, 200, 300, 400, 500, and so on, all the way around, which is actually the wind drift at 5 miles an hour at that distance. So if, for example, let's suppose 0.5 was the wind drift. I don't know this off the top of my head. I have to, again, without the turrets all calculated, it's hard to do it. But let's just say that 0.5 was your wind drift for a 5 mile an hour wind at 400 yards. So if it was, let's suppose it was a 10 mile an hour wind, you would just go to 1, just as an example. I'll create the turrets for this, and I'll do the math and calculate it, and I'll show you what I'll create. I'll go on the computer. I use CorelDRAW, and I will make my own turrets printed that will go on over top of this, and we'll tape them on there, and I'll show you what I come up with later. But I wish that Leupold had made the clicks a little bit more firm. I know that's something that people always pick on for scopes. One thing I do like is the zoom. It doesn't seem to travel very far. I think that might be maybe 90 degrees to turn from that's 3 and that's 9. But you turn it about 90 degrees, but this little knob stays well on the top and out of your way, so it's not interfering with the base if you have to rotate it further to go all the way around. So that's pretty cool. I do like that, and it is firm. It's not to make this turn. It's not very. It's firm. It's not by any means too soft or too firm. I think they got that just right. So. I wish the clicks were just a little more rigid here, and Jesus, I wish they didn't put that printing on there. But other than that, it's a beautiful scope, nice and clear. The reticle's real nice and clear. It's waterproof, it's fog-proof, and it is available in other models. You can get it with an illuminated reticle. Now, I said earlier that I would explain how to make these make your own come-ups for the scope dials. Here's a couple of examples of what I made later for this particular scope. So you can basically mark your own come up. So whatever you can see here, I got the mils on the bottom number, and then the range that correlates to on the top number. So there you are at 250 yards, back to 100, and then on the windage, this is calibrated for 5 mile an hour wind. It's everything you need to set the wind for the conditions that are present at the time you're making a shot. And this is a lot more convenient than keeping track of range cards or taping something to your stock. It's just not it's not as convenient as having it right there on your turrets. Anyhow, there it is. That's the Leupold Mark AR Mod 1 3 to 9 by 40 matte finished mil dot scope.
Leupold part number 115390, and $4.99 Canadian as of January 2016. So hope you enjoyed the video. There it is. Thanks for watching.